Talk about Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. Are the Commanders and Jayden Daniels frauds in the NFC? You look at the last two games, they have not been pretty. They lost to the Steelers 28-27, and it was a lot of miscues for both teams, the Steelers and for the Commanders. You had a fake punt that did not go right in the hands of the Steelers, and it put the Commanders right there in scoring range, and it was also a fumble as well on the 1-yard line by Jaylen Warren, who plays for the Steelers. But at the same time, Jayden Daniels went out there, and he played okay. He didn't play like how he has played before in the past against the Baltimore Ravens and against the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's okay. But Terry McLaurin had a day, and they were just a couple inches away from possibly winning that game with a field goal. It was a late play to Zach Ertz. They touched him right before he got the first down. And you also had the offsides penalty with Johnny Newton as well. But you know what? It happens. The week after that, well, just a couple of days later against the Philadelphia Eagles, early on in the game, they were taking care of business. The Philadelphia Eagles kicker was missing a lot of field goals. Then the second half, the Russian defense let them down. And they have one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. They're ranked 30th, by the way. So this has been a problem all season long. I'm coming on here to say this. The Commanders are still a tough team to beat in the NFC, and they're still going to make the NFL playoffs and possibly win a playoff game. Just because you lose 2 games back to back does not mean that you're a bad football team, does not mean that you're frauds. If you think that the Washington Commanders are not legit, that's okay, because heading into this season, they're supposed to be in a rebuilding situation anyway, based off of what happened last season with Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, and Eric Bieniemy. This is a brand new coaching staff with Dan Quinn and also Cliff Kingsbury calling plays. Now, the expectation has risen over the last couple of months because this Commanders team right here has been red hot. But they have suffered some tough losses against the Ravens, Steelers, and the Eagles. They're not losing to bad teams. And they also went out there and they dominated the Arizona Cardinals on the road. And the Arizona Cardinals have been one of the tougher teams in the NFL this season. When I look at the Washington Commanders, they're going to be okay. That's why they made the move to bring in Marshawn Lattimore, because they know they have defensive problems. Now, Marshawn Lattimore is not going to help with the rushing defense. That is what bothers me with their defense. I don't worry about them getting to the quarterback with Frankie Louvu, who has 7 sacks on the season. You also look at Dante Fowler as well, who has 8.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 interceptions. Their pass rush is phenomenal. You also have Daron Payne as well, who's holding things down at the defensive tackle position. And Johnny Newton has been a solid player here and there, but he's just a rookie. They're doing this without Jonathan Allen, who has missed majority of this season, dealing with a major injury. And he wanted to come back and play. That's why he sought a second opinion. But unfortunately, the injury was just that tough on his body. So he had to go out there and he had to miss the rest of the season. Their rushing defense is not going to get any better. But when I look at their pass defense, they have a top passing defense in the NFL. That's a bit misleading because they have given up a lot of big plays to Zay Flowers, Rashard Bateman, and also to Jamar Chase as well, and to George Pickens and Mike Williams. But that's why you go out there and that's why you make the trade to bring in Marshawn Lattimore, who has been a very good cornerback over the last few years in the NFL. As a matter of fact, since he got drafted in the NFL by the New Orleans Saints, he's been a top cornerback. You bring him in, you have Benjamin St-Juste, who is now your true number 2, and you have Mike as well, who's a rookie. You slide him into being your number 3 cornerback. Emmanuel Forbes is done. He's a bust. But you bring in Marshawn Lattimore. The only thing that you worry about him is health. That's it. And it's going to help elevate that secondary. You also look at Jeremy Chin as well. He's been a very good safety this season. This defense, in terms of getting to the quarterback and going back there and stopping passes here and there, especially in tight situations, they've been very good. But you bring in a guy like Marshawn Lattimore, you hope that he can come in and he can help slow down on some of those big chunk plays by the opposing teams. Their rushing defense, like I mentioned before, is going to be a problem. And this has been a problem with Dan Quinn teams even in the past. With the Seattle Seahawks, when they had the Legion of Boom, they let up big plays here and there on the ground. It just wasn't as consistent as the Dallas Cowboys over the last couple of years when they're being coached underneath Dan Quinn. And we saw this with the Atlanta Falcons as well, because he's so worried on getting to the quarterback that they don't go out there and prioritize stopping the run. But against power backs, they've done a very good job. Look at what happened in the Steelers matchup. They went out there and they made Najee Harris's life a living hell. They held him to only 2.5 yards a carry. It was Jaylen Warren that came in and gave him problems. The bigger running backs, they can go out there, they can match up with them. It's running backs that are very athletic, like a Jaylen Warren, like a Saquon Barkley. Those type of running backs will go back there and they will give the Washington Commanders defense a lot of problems because they can go from sideline to sideline. And give Bobby Wagner a lot of credit. He's been a solid linebacker this season, but you're starting to see him regress as well. He's not a bad linebacker at all. He is still a very good linebacker in certain situations, but he doesn't have the same speed that he used to have. And it's usual. It's going to happen because he's an older linebacker. But when I look at the Commanders over the last few weeks, Jayden Daniels has taken a step back. Part of it, you could say, is the rib injury. I don't even think the rib injury is bothering him that much. The offensive line up front is starting to show cracks. Cameron Hayward was in the backfield the entire game against the Commanders. You look at what happened with the defensive tackles against the Philadelphia Eagles. They're in the backfield the entire game. They were stopping the run. They were putting a lot of pressure on Jayden Daniels. Even going back to LSU, he loves to step up inside the pocket. He's not your traditional scrambling quarterback. He's not going to go out there and bail from inside the pocket when times get tough. He wants to step up into the throw and throw the football deep down the field and sometimes right in front of him. He's been very safe with the football as well. Another problem the Commanders are running into. Cliff Kingsbury has been a very good offensive coordinator this season. They run this offense through Jayden Daniels and through their two very good running backs in Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler and Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz here and there. The problem is this. When a team takes away Terry McLaurin, they have no other options that can go out there and consistently get open. All respect to Noah Brown. Noah Brown's not a true number 2 wide receiver. He's a number 3 at best, in my opinion. I could be wrong about that. But you have a guy like Zaccheaus. Zaccheaus is not a true number 2. Then you also look at Luke McCaffrey. There's something there with him, but he's not a true number 2 just yet. He is still trying to go out there and find a consistent role on the field. So you only have one true threat in Terry McLaurin, and he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He's been Mr. Consistent over the last few years, 1,000 yards receiving every single season in his career, except for his rookie season. He has played with a plethora of quarterbacks, and he's always went out there and has given you good production. Jayden Daniels right now is the best quarterback that he's ever played with, and that's crazy because Jayden Daniels, is a rookie. 721 receiving yards on the season, 6 receiving touchdowns, and he's averaging 15 yards a catch. I wish they could have made a trade to bring in one more wide receiver when they also made a trade to bring in Marshawn Lattimore. But I understand you can't fix everything at the trade deadline. This is why you try to go out there in the offseason. You also have Zach Ertz as well, who's been a very good for sure-handed tight end. He's a veteran. He's not the same Zach Ertz that he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, but hey, he hasn't been bad. 428 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and the man's averaging 10 yards a catch. And I will also say this, if you're a Commanders fan and you're upset about the last 2 losses, I would say, you know what? Calm down. Look at it from this lens. This was a Commanders team that was easily one of the worst football teams in the NFL last year. They had Eric Bieniemy as offensive play caller, Ron Rivera as the head coach, Jack Del Rio as the defensive coordinator. Then they fired him at the halfway point in the season. And their defense was hot garbage, pass-wise, rushing-wise as well. In just a span of one season, this team has given the fan base a lot of hope with a young stud and Jayden Daniels who will continue to get better because there's still room for improvement. This man at a point in time early in the season was in the MVP conversation with Lamar Jackson. He may not be in that MVP conversation anymore, but you know what? That's okay. He is still a top rookie quarterback in this class. He's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year easily. You look at the wide receiving core. He's helped elevate these guys to the next level, except for Terry McLaurin because he's a superstar. You had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last year. Sam Howell was the most pressured and most sacked quarterback in the NFL. A lot of that is because he held onto the football for too long and also because Eric Bieniemy could not call plays. If you're a Commanders fan, yes, you're still in a rebuild situation, but you're just a couple games away from being in the NFL playoffs. And you look at the rest of the schedule. There are a lot of winnable games. You can beat the Dallas Cowboys in the next 2 matchups. Those could be easy wins for the Commanders. Then you face the Tennessee Titans at home. You face the Cowboys at home on November 24th. You face the New Orleans Saints on the road. That could be an easy win. You face the Philadelphia Eagles at home. You could possibly split with the Philadelphia Eagles. Then you face the Atlanta Falcons. That's going to be tough. Then you face the Dallas Cowboys on the road. You may be resting starters around December 29th and January the 5th. They're easily going to make the NFL playoffs so they can win another 2 to 3 games. No one expected that. So you have good things to look forward to. And when you get in the NFL playoffs, that's all you can ask for this young team. And Dan Quinn, say what you want to say about him. The man led the Atlanta Falcons to a Super Bowl. Yes, they blew the lead 28-3. It's whatever. But he's had success in the NFL. He's a brilliant defensive mind as well. You think long game here. You don't just think about this season. It's been a lot of fun. You look at what happened against the Chicago Bears. It was a reason why a lot of Commander fans were happy about that win. More so than they just got a crazy Hail Mary, it's because of the hell they have been put through over the last few years. The last decade plus, to be real with you. I understand they made the NFL playoffs a couple of years ago when Taylor Heineke went against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. But you look at this Commanders team right here, they have something special. You went against two veteran teams, the Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles. They just outgunned them. It's going to be okay. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.